Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I have a homeschool haul to share with you today. I have some new items and I have some secondhand items as well that I'm sharing with you, primarily books, a few other resources as well, and they are predominantly for two units that are coming up for us, an anatomy unit and a chemistry unit. So a lot of these resources are for those units, but I do have separate videos showing how I put together those units with the other resources and other projects that we have in order to make those unit studies for anatomy and chemistry. And while some of these items are secondhand, you can find links to all of the resources from this homeschool haul on the blog post that accompanies this video, and you can find that link down in the description box below. So I'd like to start with our new boxes here. Most of the stuff is from Amazon, and then if it's not, then I'll let you know. I did get some books from a thrift bookstore online, and then some of these things I got secondhand locally. So we're going to start with our Amazon boxes. And okay, so I'm really excited about both of these. I'm actually excited about all of the books. I'm excited about this one. This is The Chronic Prescription, Unlocking the Secrets to Optimal Health. And I got this in order to go along with our anatomy unit. Our anatomy unit is going to be Waldorf inspired. And so I am using a Waldorf main lesson book. And I think it's called Hygiene, Nutrition, and Physiology. And so I wanted to include some things that were relevant for us, for our family. And I encourage you to do this with any curriculum to make it relevant for your religion or for your culture. And so this is going to help us for that unit. So that's why I got this book. And so this is a religious book. And we're using a secular curriculum. And so we're blending both of those things together. And so while in the past I have used some educational funding for our books and resources for homeschool, this haul predominantly is purchased from ourselves. Like, we haven't used our educational funding to do that, and that's why I can purchase religious material for this homeschool haul. We have Anatomicum. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And this is the junior edition. I also got the non-junior edition. I'm going to peek at the contents of this book before I show you, because I did see online some reviews that said that the material, even though this is the junior version of the book, that there may be some images that were maybe not appropriate for a junior audience. And that is the case with another anatomy book that I want to share with you, where I felt like it might not be appropriate for younger students or middle school age students, because my daughter is in middle school and we're doing these two units for middle school. And if you were particular about the images, then I would say that with the newer anatomy books, I found that they are a lot more visual, a lot more descriptive, a lot more anatomically correct, versus the older anatomy resources I have are a little bit more modest. And so this book so far seems okay, but I haven't gone through the entire book, and I don't want to show any images that I wouldn't want to be using in a video content like this. So far I do like this book, but I did buy both of them in this series. So we have plenty of books in the Welcome to the Museum series. Really enjoy them. For the most part, I find that they have a general amount of information, not usually enough for me to put together our lessons, but definitely the illustrations are so beautiful, and the ones that we have inspiration for in our own main lesson books. But usually the content needs to be supported with another resource. And so again, for this book, and also this book is a smaller size than the typical books in this series, and maybe that's because it's the junior edition, I'm not sure, but all the other books are much larger. Okay, let's dive into another Amazon box. Okay, so here's the original. And so this one is the not the junior edition. So let me also carefully go through the pages. Okay, So again, really beautiful illustrations and then some content. Now I did find that in looking through the resources from this particular Welcome to the Museum publisher and series, I found that when I was comparing it to other resources, sometimes I would find information that didn't quite match, that was just maybe a statistic that was off or a number that was off compared to other resources. And so either this is a newer resource and it has updated information, or there's just some discrepancies in some of the information that you're going to find when it comes to some of these topics. So let me show you some of the other pages in here. Okay, so this one looks really beautiful. Okay, so we have the eyes and the ears, and I particularly like this book for the other things that are probably not as important, but I like the pages, I like the paper, I like the texture. The only thing that I don't like about these books is that they are so large that they don't fit comfortably in our bookcase, and so they end up having to be flat, which is fine. They will fit that way, but they won't fit upright just because they are so big. So that's something that's not a big deal, but it does make it a little bit frustrating when for me, I like to keep all of our subject area books together so that when I'm pulling them out for a unit, I know that they're all, like all the books that I have on that subject area are together. And this I have to go and look for specifically because they're in a different spot in our bookcase. Okay, so we have another book from Amazon. Oh, I'm very excited about this one. Okay, so this is a chemistry resource that is for Waldorf-inspired learning or a Waldorf school. And I do have another Waldorf resource that I'm going to share with you. And then you can also see in our Waldorf chemistry main lesson block, like how we put that unit together, more of the resources and more of the materials that you'll need, and more specifically how we are putting together that main lesson block and how we're executing that main lesson block. So this is chemistry in classes 7 and 8, and this is just another resource that I'm going to use. I have limited Waldorf resources, but in all the years of homeschooling, I think this is only my second time teaching chemistry, and our first time was a very small, barely much of an introduction. For my first 2 kids, I didn't even do a chemistry main lesson block. So I need a little bit more prep time, prep work, more resources, just so that I have a good handle on putting together this main lesson. And that's a little bit ironic since my major in university was chemistry. So I should be okay with this, but I'm not. I need more resources. Okay, one more package, and then some new things that I've already unboxed. But okay, Chemistry Around Us. This is a poetry book, and I was not able to see any images online, so we're going to explore this together. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I'm really, really pleased with this. But it seems like the poetry is really, really simple, and some of the illustrations as we move on are maybe kind of basic, but I have not seen a book like this before. Poetry and chemistry, this is great. And so this is going to really help us with our opening activities or something just to sort of set the stage for our learning for this main lesson block that's coming up. Okay, some other things that we got from Amazon. This book series, A Very Short Introduction. Now this is our 3rd book that we have, maybe our 4th book in this series. And I do like them. However, I found that the reason why I got them isn't actually the way that we are using them. It ends up being more of background information for me when I'm presenting the lessons, or just gives me maybe the confidence to understand the material better when presenting it. So this one is the Periodic Table, A Very Short Introduction. And if you are familiar with these books, then you'll know that each of the authors, I believe, are different for all of the different subject areas. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of books in this series. And I think I said this was from Amazon, but I'm mistaken. It's actually from a thrift bookstore online. And I can't remember which thrift bookstore online it is. But again, you'll be able to find the links to all of these resources on the blog post that accompanies this video. All right, some of these materials actually are for this other resource that I'm just going to pull out real quick and share with you. This one is called Chemistry the Waldorf Way. And this book is for grades 7 and 8. And we have from the same author, Physics the Waldorf Way for grades 6, 7, and 8. And you can buy the physics book as a single book with all 3 grades, or you can buy the physics book each grade individually. And we have them individually, and we have worked through them. And I'm so pleased with this resource. We haven't used this resource yet, but we have used the physics resource in the past. And I find it to be just a superb resource if you're looking to do physics or chemistry in the Waldorf way. And what I like about this book, and in the other ones as well, is that the first several pages give you an overview of chemistry or physics in the Waldorf approach. It explains how to do the demonstrations and how to set up your main lesson book. And then it has all of the demonstrations to do. And so I sort of briefly went through some of these demonstrations so I could figure out what materials we needed. And a lot of the materials we have, because we did do a physics unit in the past, and I did start to collect some chemistry materials, but there were a few things that I picked up for this unit. I picked up some pipettes. I know we have a couple, but I couldn't even find a smaller package of pipettes, and so I ended up getting this one, which has several, and this one was from Amazon. I also picked up, this is pure zinc and copper, and this is for one of the chemistry demonstrations. So let me just pull these out, and I'm not sure, I mean, it's so beautifully packaged, you wouldn't even think that you're buying something for a chemistry demonstration. And so we have the zinc, and then the copper has a little film on it. So let's just remove that so you can see the beautiful copper color. There we go. Okay, and that's going to be for one of the demonstrations. And I'm not sure if we're going to be using it for multiple demonstrations, but I did see one of them, so we got it. And we also have Mel's chemistry kits as well. And we will either use them as they are designed to be used separately from our main lesson block, or if there are some materials in those chemistry kits that we maybe can't find otherwise that we can use for the demonstrations based on this book, then we will use some of those resources that way. These spoons or spatulas, they had a special name, and I cannot remember now. Actually, maybe I'm missing one. They are for one of the demonstrations that we need to do. And they're tiny, and there's a special name for them, and I believe these ones were also from Amazon. Another thing from Amazon that is not going to be part of, I don't believe it's part of the Waldorf approach for doing chemistry, but it is a chemistry model kit, and this is so that you can build different molecules and compounds. And it comes with several, we've already used this, it comes with several pieces, and then the little connecting pieces, and they're different kinds, whether they're going to be double bonds or single bonds. And then for the balls that come with them, they are different colors, and also they are, let me find an example of one. Okay, so for, I think, the carbon, you can find them with either 2 holes, so one on either side, or, oh, there's ones with also 3, I think. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think there were ones with another amount as well. I'm trying to remember. Or maybe there were more, but we just didn't need to use them all, depending on how many bonds there are attached to this particular molecule. So I was actually happy to see that, because what we've done in the past is use modeling clay, and then that way you can pierce it with toothpicks, and then it doesn't matter that there are no holes because you're piercing it. What I found was that it was really hard for us to keep those structures stable enough for us to bake them, and then they'd be hard and stable. And they deformed really easily, and we had to make the balls really big, because if they were small, or you know, we tried to vary the size. Anyway, it wasn't very effective. It was more cumbersome, and really frustrating. So I'm happy to have this set, and it was pretty affordable if I remember, and we got one that had quite a few pieces. But if you wanted an alternative, working with clay, especially I would say a clay that was a little bit more stiff or firm versus the clay that I tend to like, which is super soft and you can bake it, which then makes it hard. That soft clay just wasn't durable enough to hold our toothpicks in place. So this is going to be a great addition for our unit. Again, it's not like Waldorf inspired so much, but it's going to be helpful for us. Okay, the next couple of books are from used bookstore online. We have Elements, and this book goes through examples of all the different elements, and I think this will just be sort of a fun way to examine the periodic table. But again, I don't think the main lesson block really talks about the periodic table in the way that a typical chemistry unit study or chemistry class would go through. So some of this also ends up being information that I use for myself in order to have a better understanding when I'm presenting these lessons, but it's not necessarily something that we're going to go through page by page. It's just another resource for us to have. We also have the DK Eyewitness book for chemistry, and I have mixed feelings about the DK Eyewitness books. I have a lot of them, but I do have mixed feelings about how effective they are within our homeschool setting. What I do like about them is that each 2-page spread seems independent from the rest of the book. So if you just need a particular subject area, or say a particular topic in a subject area, this book is really great at giving you a snapshot information about that. And then you have actual photographs. I prefer illustrations, but it's nice to have a book that's going to have some photographs. What I don't like about it is that I tend to use our books as books that we can read aloud, and this does not lend itself very well to a read aloud book. I also don't like all the different captions and the different bits of the book. I find it really confusing and it kind of disrupts the flow for me. However, it is nice if you just want to read 1 or 2 captions, and then you can get through the book a lot faster because the actual paragraph for each 2-page spread is actually not that long. And what I've done in the past is I'll just ask my children, they'll look at the illustrations and I'll say, what do you want to know about more? And if whatever they point to, then I'll read that little bit, and that means that they're engaged because they're asking about something specifically rather than me just reading through all of the different little topic areas. Okay, so that is another one of our chemistry resources. Let me pull out a few more. Actually, this is a mix of chemistry resources. So this is a secondhand book that I picked up from one of our homeschoolers in our community. This is Everything You Need to Ace Chemistry in One Big Fat Notebook. I have seen, and maybe I do own 1 or 2 others in this series, and it's not my vibe. So I'm not super crazy about this series. However, since I had practically no other chemistry resource, and the person who was selling this book sold, I guess you could have bought them individually. She was just selling her whole bundle of chemistry. So I ended up buying all of them. And this then becomes a resource for me and an opportunity for my daughter to do a little bit of her own research as we're going through some of our lessons. And so this book, I think, lends itself really well for student use. And because it's for students, I feel like it's great for adults who need a refresher on a subject area rather than going through a heavier textbook. Like this is the way that it's formatted is really great for an adult as well, but it is made for students. We also have Super Simple Chemistry. This is by Smithsonian, and this is also a DK, one of the DK Eyewitness book, from the publisher or from the family. And so this book is going to, again, help us with particular bits of information. This is not something that we're going to read aloud cover to cover. And it's also not something that's going to guide us in our lessons. Like you could use this to teach all of your lessons because of the way that it's laid out and the way that it sequences. But again, this will be a resource for us. And since we had such few resources, now that we have them and we can use them, then we can whittle them down and say, these are the 3 favorite resources that we have or whatnot, so that we can just keep what's best in our homeschool library. Okay, so this one is not chemistry, but we're going to get back to chemistry in a minute. This is a theory of colors. And this one, I think it was also from Amazon. And I picked this one up because I had attended a workshop, a Waldorf handwork workshop. And this book was the main content for it. And so I picked it up because I love the idea of exploring color. And in so many of our lessons, we explore color. Well, maybe not in so many. I feel like it ends up being in so many lessons because we do illustrations with a lot of our lessons. But color was a really big part of our physics unit, which we did several years ago and we're in the middle of now. And so this gives you good background information on color that's, I feel like it's something that we don't really process too deeply. We either like it or we don't like it, or we like a color or we don't like a color, but we're not really thinking about the theory of color and the different feelings that it can evoke, or how it's used in other areas of our life. And so I picked this one up primarily for me, and then it will make its way into our lessons for my daughter. We have chemistry getting a big reaction, and I believe I've got 2 books in the same series. The other one is the periodic table, and this one, sometimes I don't like books that are content that's intended for older students, but it's written or illustrated for really young students. I don't like babying down the information or providing information for children at the kind of the inappropriate age or the wrong age. And that's subjective. You might think this is fine for a young student. Personally, I would wait until middle school for some of these concepts, and then even more specifically for things that are too small to see with your eyes, and not with a microscope, just with your eyes. I feel like those concepts or those ideas and that information is better suited for post-puberty or just around that age, in my opinion, and also based on some of the research on child development that Waldorf education draws from. So this is going to be another resource book for our chemistry unit. We have Barron's Painless Chemistry. And again, another resource for us. This one is written for students, and so you can even see questions and something that's just more engaging for students. So we have some brain tickler answers at the back of the back of the book, and so those are included throughout the book itself. And then some questions, some solutions. So again, something that's going to be included in our resources, but not necessarily used at the moment, since we haven't put together a chemistry unit or our main lesson block, I should say. I'm not sure how these books are going to be incorporated into that, into our unit, how we're going to utilize them, but you can check out that video. You can find the link in the description box below, and then you can see how we are using these books in those different units, because right now, this is kind of exciting for me because I'm opening some of these resources for the first time. So we haven't used them. I can't really comment how well they were used in our homeschool, how much we like them, but these are some of the resources that I'm looking for, or that I found and that we want to use. And I do tend to just do a quick search in some of my favorite vendors online, and then just see what pops up, and then I go from there to collect those resources. And then sometimes they're great and we love them, and sometimes they're not, but as long as I can share with you and show you the insides of the books, that's what's really important for me, so that you can decide what's best for you and your family, because some of these books are the main staple in our homeschool, and they can get pricey after a while. So it's great to be able, and plus sometimes online you can't see the insides of the book. So this is something that I definitely want to share with you. So women in chemistry, as many opportunities as I can to include female scientists or females in any industry, then I try to do that, but especially in the sciences, it's just I have a soft spot since my major was in the sciences, and so I do like to encourage that for students who are already wanting to do that, and then also to balance out the extensive amount of men that we have in science and all the other industries. It's really nice to see some women be represented and to see more of them in the years to come. And then we have the elements. Is this the same book? I can't tell if this is the same book or not. They're both secondhand books. And I don't think so, but I can't be sure because the format of the book is really similar. So let's get to hydrogen and let's see if they are the same. Okay, so they're different, but the same concept. So we have Smithsonian DK book with the elements, and then we have this option, the elements, a visual exploration of every known atom in the universe. So same idea. You don't need two. So whichever one, and you honestly don't need one either. But if you wanted one, these two books are pretty much the same. Okay, I've got just a few more books, or three more resources. One is an anatomy book. I also have Barron's SAT vocabulary flashcards, and then one more math resource. So for this book, I also picked this up secondhand, and I want to go through the book kind of modestly because there are a lot of pages that I felt were a little bit too visual for our needs at the time, and you may decide for yourself the images, like how modest you want to be with your images. But I felt like some of the pages were not necessary to be so exposing when you're talking about, like, say, the lungs, and then you're still seeing the anatomy of the entire body. I felt like that was not necessary for what we're looking to do. But as a resource, this book seems to be very thorough in the illustrations as well as in the content. So this will be a tremendous resource for our upcoming anatomy unit. And then this is secondhand from a friend, and this is the SAT vocabulary flashcards. And this is not, I don't necessarily want to use these as flashcards. I want to be able to go through these words and see if my daughter can use them in a sentence rather than define them, because sometimes I find like it's hard for us to find the words to define a word that we know that we can use. And so I want to see more if she can use them in a sentence rather than if she can define them, because she's only 13. And I know that, and actually we ended up not having to do SATs for any of my other children, but if that's a route that she wants to choose, then it will be nice to have this as a study guide. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you, I'm kind of excited about this one. And I have to say that we've actually already used this one, and I didn't find it as useful as I thought it would be. And it could just be that my children have outgrown this level of math, but it is a great resource to do math problems. So you can change each of these dials, and I have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then you can, oh, I did it backwards again. You can print off, or you can stamp off your math problems, and you can change them up depending on how you twist the dials. And then it does come with an additional, or rather more ink, but we barely use them. I love the idea. It's so brilliant, but we used it minimally compared to how much I thought we were going to use it. This is multiplication. Let me just line them up so that they are the same. I think this way. Okay, so then oh, that did not align properly. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, that's a little bit better, but not great. So then you can see all of these multiplication questions, and some of them you can just do mentally. You don't need to work them out. I think some of the other ones you can try to do mentally. You might need to work them out, have a little extra piece of paper to do them. And then we have for division and addition as well. And these ones were from Amazon, and I think it's just, oh, that's addition. Let's just go through addition. And then let's go find a division one as well. Now, honestly, you could just use ChatGPT to put together your these kinds of questions if you wanted to, especially if you wanted two-part questions. I have a tutorial on how to do that, and you can find that link in the description box below if you want to create your own, like this way. If you want to create your own questions using ChatGPT rather than doing them on your own or getting a workbook or getting a product like this, which is, it's kind of fun to use. But you can see for the division is actually more challenging, and you may need to work them out a little bit. I hope that you enjoyed this look at our homeschool haul for the year for basically 2 subject areas. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video for more information, as well as links to all of the resources that you see here. Don't forget to check the description box below for some of the other video tutorials that I have on putting together our anatomy unit and our chemistry unit. And if you'd like to see how we are homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.